Attention, attention, stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
This story, this is a gift that keeps on giving. This is one of those stories where people are like, oh, you know what? All this stuff in Tennessee and Trump being indicted and Matt Taibbi getting kicked off of Twitter will distract from this story. And by the time you turn around, it'll be gone. It'll be memory hold. And then, it just keeps stacking. Ladies and gentlemen, Clarence Thomas. It's been found out. It's been discovered. And he has admitted to it. This is not something where, these are allegations that, are unsubstantiated or anonymous or whatever.
Right.
Clarence Thomas has been getting these free trips, some of them at the cost of what would have cost him if he did himself, $500,000. That's a trip. Johnny Million, that's a trip. That's ridiculous. That's just.
I remember really cringing when I spent $2,000 on a vacation one time. I was like, this is a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. No, this is like, honest to God, I can't really figure out why. Because you know what I mean? If you're going to swim in the ocean, you can only get so far away from other people where you're just isolated beyond belief. So there's this mitigatory distance between resort and castaway. So it's somewhere in the middle there for, I don't know, let's talk in normal, $5K, you could probably spend a week someplace where you're like, oh my God, the fish here is amazing. And it'd be stupid. Yeah. And then you can, they have a charter service where there's it's like Uber, where they have Uber Black and they have the Uber, electric or whatever, and you get charged a little bit more for that, and you're like, you know what? It's date night. Let's splurge. Let's not wait for the Tercel. We'll try and get one of the cars that pass for a livery the rest of the time, right, honey? Right? So they have boats that take you to and from the I don't know, Naked and Afraid Island or wherever you're staying to get away from other people. And that boat costs $1,500 to take to shore, where the other one costs, $50. And you're like, it's insane. But all right, we won the lottery. What the heck? Still, I don't get it. Then, the flights themselves, just to get there, $10,000 if you're going to the absolute end of the earth. Australia, Thailand, you're flying first class or business class. I can see that happening. Okay. So there's your whole trip. You're under $25K, which is insane for travel, unless you're the Kardashians and you're hiding. Now, there's always something too, I suppose. The fact that a Supreme Court justice has to bring along security or something, but doesn't the taxpayer pay that part? Anyways, weird. $500K. This one trip. He's been doing this every year for 3 decades. And that's, by the way, just for the plane and the yacht that he was on. If he just chartered the yacht and the plane, it would have cost him $500,000. But he was a guest of a man named Harlan Crow, which again sounds like a villain from Arkham Asylum.
For real.
Yeah. Or quite frankly, a plantation owner. I'm Colonel Harlan Crow of the Mississippi Crows. You know what I mean? Like that. Simmer down. They're making too much noise, darling. We can't enjoy our mint juleps. He's apparently had trips there. He had access to and use of a public servant who makes $285,000, by the way, a year. That's what he makes. Has vacationed on Crow's super yacht around the globe. He flies on Crow's Bombardier Global 5000 jet. He's gone with Crow to the Bohemian Grove, which, come on! All right. So if you don't know, the Bohemian Grove has been, most people only know it because Alex Jones snuck into the place and videotaped it at one point. It's because he was convinced it's this giant pagan, gay, Illuminati, eyes wide shut gathering, which it kind of is. But but it's a lot more sedate than that. It's a men's only retreat where a lot of them do drag. That's another story for another time. I did a whole breakdown of this yesterday on my show. But the fact that this isn't nonstop, that Harlan Crow, this Republican conservative dude who's supposedly one of the heroes of conservative fundraising, that this dude took a Supreme Court justice, a conservative Supreme Court justice, which means he took the other ones too. Like, there's no way that like Scalia didn't go. If that's the only reason Clarence Thomas would go someplace is if I don't know. It's like a vampire thing. Scalia has to step over the threshold first, and then Clarence Thomas can come in or some shit. Whoops! I'm sorry, I swore. Look at that. I can't not do it. It drives me crazy. Sorry, Chicago. I said ship with a P. Anyways, so in general, it's amazing that in and of itself isn't the single biggest story of all of this. That, oh my God, a Republican donor took Clarence Thomas to the Bohemian Grove, where they allegedly worship a giant owl that speaks to them, and then they mock kill a baby, and then they have entertainment. They have like a
what did you just say, Hal?
Yeah, they mock worship a giant owl and they fake kill a baby. They have this alleged like killing of an infant.
Are you like doing stream of consciousness right now?
No, I am not. That's something that happens. Go watch anything online about the Bohemian Grove, and it's crazy. And Nixon didn't want to go because he thought it was too gay for him. It was just the weirdest thing. I'm just saying.
Wow, too gay for Nixon is really
I know.
Gay.
That's a lot. That's a lot, right? Exactly. He had a very high tolerance, higher than you would think. Well, he didn't hang with J. Edgar Hoover, and it was a thing. Anyways, that's the smallest part of this. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year worth of trips and treats and all kinds of stuff. In a statement, Crow acknowledged he'd extend hospitality to the Thomases over the years, but said that Thomas had never asked for any of it, and it was no different from the hospitality we extended to many other dear friends. Again, this is one of those things where, like, dude, you don't have to ask somebody for favors. First of all, if you're giving them that kind of gift, they're already on the team. The buy-in gifts happened a long time ago. So the idea that somehow that, like, I never told him to vote a certain way, he didn't have to. He got it. He knows who he's hanging around, and he knows what side of the bread his butter is on. Good Lord. So, somebody in the chat, Shmoopy says, too gay for Nixon sounds like a punk band name. I agree. That would be amazing. And I like the @ symbol for the A in that. That was brilliant. Because it's so meta. Anyways, through his largesse, Crow has gained a unique form of access, spending days in private with one of the most powerful people in the country. And by accepting it, Thomas has broken longstanding norms for judges' conduct. Everybody is like wigging about this. Everybody's going, how is this even possible? And his whole thing was, I don't know why it was a big deal. I'll tell you one of the reasons why it's a big deal. Because the stories that are following, just the fact that this came out, because this is gigantic. A Supreme Court justice is getting millions of dollars of creature comforts over the years to clearly stay on one particular side of the legal aisle. And this dude, Colonel Harlan Crow, apparently collects Hitler artifacts. And he's got a garden full of statues of dictators, which I don't know if those are he's just saving them from being torn down, like the people who wanted to collect like the Robert E. Lee statue and stuff. I bet you anything he's got one of those. Like he bought it so the ruffian Antifa BLM Americans wouldn't tear the thing down in some city square in Tennessee or Mississippi or something like that, you know. Crow, the billionaire heir to a real estate fortune, of course, second generation rich kid. What a shocker. It's almost like Trump okay. Is there something about this guy and that guy having a copy of, all right, we'll talk about this. Okay. Apparently, Marco Rubio attended a fundraiser at Crow's house on the eve of Yom Kippur, and Rubio's critics thought the timing was inappropriate, given, all the Hitler stuff. I can't get over the collection of Nazi memorabilia, says one person who attended the event at Crow's home a few years ago and asked to remain anonymous. It would have been helpful to have someone explain the significance of all the items. Without that context, you sort of gasp when you walk into the room.
What context can help?
That is the context, dummy. Oh, my God. So, let's see. When you walk into the room, one memorable aspect was the paintings. Something done by George W. Bush, next to Norman Rockwell, next to one by Hitler. They said it was all startling and strange to see the dictator sculptures in the backyard. And by the way, there are pictures online.
Oh.
Yeah. In 2014, when Crow's house was included in a public tour of historic homes, a reporter from the Dallas Morning News visited. Apparently, Crow was visibly uncomfortable with questions about his dictator statues and Hitler memorabilia, preferring to discuss his other historical collections, documents signed by the likes of Christopher Columbus and George Washington, paintings by Renoir and Monet, statues of two of Crow's heroes, Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher, in an embrace, which I think is wrong, but whatever. Okay, but I'm kidding. But despite Crow's discomfort, the reporter did manage to see the Garden of Dictator statues, describing it as a historical nod to the facts of man's inhumanity to man. A historical nod. Among the figures in the Garden of Evil are Lenin, Stalin, Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu, Yugoslav dictator Josip Broz Tito, and those are apparently not statues that Crow has commissioned. Crow has said that they're bona fide artifacts from the public squares across Europe and Asia that citizens toppled at the end of dictatorial regimes. The dude is collecting them and preserving them for whatever the new whatever it is coming. He also had, and I will do this right now, this is from another part of the Washington Post story. When Republican mega donor Harlan Crow isn't lavishing Justice Thomas with free trips, he lives a quiet life in Dallas among his historical collections. These collections include Hitler artifacts, 2 of his paintings of European cityscapes, and a signed copy of Mein Kampf.
I thought that was a joke.
Nope. A signed copy. That, I mean, you gotta hunt that down. Right? That's...
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, if there hasn't been, if that hasn't been included in a bunch of book burnings, again, I'm not for the existence of a book to be destroyed, but I don't have a problem with all the signed copies of Mein Kampf being destroyed, so nobody uses them as a, I'm on the team medal. Right? Good Lord. Why?
All right, this might be, I don't know if this is a silly question, but signed by who?
That's a good question. Yeah, Clarence Thomas. Isn't that weird? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
With the Clarence Thomas signed copy.
Yeah, no, it's got a comp. That would be, I mean, honestly, at this point, that's the only way you could ratchet this story up to be more horrifying. It's got a doodle from Ava Braun, and Clarence Thomas wrote LOL next to it. That I would just say that of the stories this week, that might be one of the reasons why Trump being indicted turned out to be a giant national and international nothing burger. Our democracy still stands. We're still a functioning country. We got plenty of loonies around, and we've been fighting the same good fight that we've been fighting for decades, and the arc of justice bends towards liberty, and I think we're going to be just fine.
Templeton Zarat in the chat is pointing out, how does something like Citizens United get passed?
I can't. Yeah, you know what? It's a good question. I haven't read Mein Kampf, so I'll have to look it up. Which we we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with, you know, kind of a roundup of a bunch of stories that are going on also in the nation. And then Philip Ittner will be joining us in the next hour.
Yeah,
and
Phil
there's
is
a
ready.
whole lot. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot going on in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And we'll get to it in a minute. We'll be back right after this.